There, good evening and welcome to the analysis on Sunday. This is KBN TV, the finest television. Thank you so much for choosing to keep us company. Yet another exciting Sunday of nothing but the best of current affairs. And as usual, we have a panel of your trusted, analysts who always help us to break down what has transpired in the course of the week. My name is Kennedy Mambwe. I am sitting in for our host, Innocent Piri, who is not with us this evening. However, I am joined from my far left by the man who needs no introduction. That's the speech analyst, Mike Sichula. Welcome to the analysis, Mike.
Thank you very much, PK, and good evening to our dear viewers, and a happy Mother's Day to all the women that are joining us this evening.
Great. Tonight we are privileged to be joined by one of the finest minds in the field of journalism, and an expert in many areas, from football to writing news headlines, analysis, international correspondent for many respected media outlets. This is no other than Comrade Chiwoyu Sinyangwe. Is joining us as a guest analyst tonight on the analysis. Chiwoyu, welcome to the analysis.
Thank you very much, PK. It's very good to be here. I know we have fought a lot of battles to have me here. I'm very happy, and let me just join my brother in wishing all our beautiful women out there a happy Mother's Day, and I look forward to having an interactive discussion with you, PK, and of course my longtime colleague Mike here.
Great, happy Mother's Day indeed to all our dear mothers out there. Later on, we'll be joined by Ambassador Anthony Mukwita in a short while. He will be joining us. So let me just quickly run through some of the stories that we'll be looking at. As you know, the Electoral Commission of Zambia announced, the final certified register of 8.7 million who will be making a decision on the 13th of August later this year. And of course, the ECZ have published the presidential adoption rules, which have somewhat sparked a lot of talk and raised dust and controversy, and some people have actually gone to courts, but I will not go into those details. My analyst will be able to speak to that. The Economic Freedom Fighters President, KASONDE MWENDA, arrested for cyber-related crimes. We will discuss that. And finally, the WOZA, We Are One Zambia Alliance, has found a new home, and they have joined the Brian Mundubile-led TONSE Alliance. And of course, we have had a lot of complaints from members of the ruling party, UPND, who are claiming that the party has confiscated their NRCS and original grade 12 certificates in their quest to be, on the ballot for either council chairperson, councillor, or member of parliament. They feel they've been disenfranchised. We'll look at that a little later. And then the drama in the PF continues. Today, obviously, if you have been following events before the floor of the House, Speaker NELLY MUTTI says those PF members who were alleged to have crossed the floor, in fact, according to her, they didn't. They just expressed their admiration and desire to join the UPND after dissolution of Parliament. These and many more other stories. So let's start from my immediate left. Chiwoyu, the ECZ has announced a certified register of 8.7 million who will be deciding the fate of the UPND, whether or not to retain them or to fire them. And as you respond to that or react to that, they have also published not only the schedule for nomination of presidential papers, but they've put a very controversial note at the bottom of that schedule, which speaks to the rules that they have set out to be governing how a presidential candidate should be adopted. Let's start from there. What are your thoughts around these two interlinked stories?
Okay, Pike, thank you very much. To start with, the issue, the number that ECZ has come up with, about 8.7 million voters, it's a very interesting number. If you look at what most of us anticipated, was that probably we could have had a number much lower than that, because at a population of 22 million, you've captured somewhere around 43 million. I mean, 43% of the population. And of course, you know that in the population, it's not everyone who is eligible to vote. So on the face of that number which has been presented, you get a sense that ECZ did a good job insofar as capturing these the potential voters. And most importantly, you have to pay tribute to the Zambian people. They have demonstrated that they are willing to take up the responsibility of participating in the election of the president, and their respective representatives in parliament and also at local government level. What is very interesting in that number, in my view, obviously, it's the critical component in terms of the voting demographic structure. At 8.7 million registered voters, I get a sense that about 51% of that are the people below 35, who are the youth. Now, you have to understand that the youth in the Zambian, especially Zambian contemporary elections, have played a very crucial role. You know that the youth were very instrumental in the victory of President Hakainde Hichilema in 2021. Again, the youth also played a pivotal role in the election of Edgar Lungu, the election of Michael Sata in 2011. So, if you look at what has happened the last 3-4 election cycle that we've had in the country, the youth have played a critical role, and that is why you find that if you look at the behavior of the UPND towards the management of the election, there's a lot of focus on trying to capture the youth vote. I think you have seen that the actions around the presidency itself. Okay, there's been a lot of attempt to engage the students in universities, the students in colleges, and essentially any activities to do with the young people has received a lot of attention from State House. But then the bigger question to ask is that beyond this period of electioneering, what has been the relationship between the ruling party and the youth? Okay. When you look at President Hichilema, I was just looking at his appointments, whether it's in cabinet or outside cabinet, and even just in parastatal organizations. I don't think there is any president in the history of Zambia who has appointed the least number of youth to these critical institutions of governance. Okay, so what does it tell? It raises a very important question. Has the UPND got an agenda for the youth beyond elections? Okay, and I think that is the critical question that the youth have to ask themselves. Has there been a deliberate policy, or has there been a deliberate attempt to make sure that the playing field, the access to economic chances or opportunities are availed to the youth equally? I know you might want to talk about the new amendment to the Constitution to say, look, now you've got this Constitution that provides for space that is exclusive to so-called marginalized segments of society, like the youth, the women, and the vulnerable people. But then you have to ask yourself another question. Do the youth really need to be given a special segment to say, you're going to occupy this area? Okay? Do they need that? Because in my view, the youth have to be integrated as a parcel and as part of the ecosystem in our governance structure. There have to be a deliberate attempt to ensure that the youth are brought into the structure of governance, given economic opportunity, not as youth, but as part of the whole system of society. So if you are going to have a government that for 4 years didn't think it was important to embrace the youth and bring them into mainstream of decision making, now that you've got an election, that's when you quickly change the constitution and bring, so that you create this space of saying there will be
proportional representation.
Proportional representation to ensure that, I mean, in an attempt to say that there will be special allocation of certain portions for the youth. I don't think that is really prudent for me, because remember, this is a country that has for a long time even struggled to identify the youth itself. If you look at the Central Statistical Office, all the data that is out there in terms of quantifying the age gaps or the age groups, the youth is defined as somebody between, I mean, below 35. But just look at your political parties. Who are the youth chairmen? Are they people below 35? So what are the chances that this proportional representation will not be abused? Because if you're going to get political parties that have never, and I'll give an example specifically of the UPND. Are you telling me in the UPND, I'm going to use the UPND because it's a ruling party. So naturally we want to believe that they are the trendsetters. They set the yardstick, okay? That's the barometer for how we should treat the management of things or the management of society. So if the UPND itself, their youth wing is not led by the youth, so what guarantees do you have that if tomorrow proportional representation is implemented, the actual youth are the one who's going to benefit?
You have a lot to offload, I can say, but I'm going to come back to you. Speech analyst, but before I come to you, speech analyst, just to welcome Ambassador Anton Mukwita. As I mentioned that we are expecting him, and he's here on our very first story. You haven't missed much. Okay. We just got started, and I did mention to our viewers that you would be coming in shortly. But I'll be coming to you. Let me attend to speech analyst. Speech analyst.
Is it speech analyst or Mbala Mafia? I'm getting confused.
Interchangeably. The Green Party president, Mr. Sinkamba, has gone to the court to challenge the electoral process bill that is before the floor of the House, because it introduces certain things that are not necessarily supposed to be part of that. Remember, the intention for introducing the amendment to the electoral process bill was to accommodate the delimitation and the proportional representation. Mr. Sinkamba argues that sneaking in other things such as providing certificate of adoption signed by President and Secretary General contradicts provisions of Article 100. I would like for you also to comment on the fact that what is being proposed in that amendment is what has already been communicated by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. What are your thoughts around that?
Well, I think the decision that has been taken by Mr. Sinkamba is something that a number of stakeholders have also voiced their concern to say, why should we have a change of the electoral rules before the elections? Why not wait and push it to next year? Because look, the process of voting has already started. Stakeholders, politicians are already in that mood. So if you are going to change the games that govern the election process, then it simply means that there's something that you want to do which the players themselves are not comfortable with. So I hope that the court can respond to Mr. Sinkamba in the way that he wants them to do. But I highly doubt that the judiciary is going to entertain Mr. Sinkamba, considering that if you recall, there was should be is it the organization led by Linda Kasonde? They challenged the
Chapter 1 Foundation.
Yes, they did challenge the
The bills.
The bills, and that matter was rejected by the court. So I don't think the decision that has been taken by Mr. Sinkamba is going to be entertained by our judiciary, looking at the pattern where we're coming from.
Are you saying it lacks merit, or you just don't have confidence in the judiciary?
I don't have confidence because they have set themselves a standard that these bills before Parliament should go, because the concerns that were raised, for instance, by Chapter 1 Foundation should be LCK. Are valid in terms of why should you push all the bills before Parliament so that they should be processed and passed when there's little time. That was one of their arguments. And they also argued to say some of the members of Parliament who are debating these bills are compromised in terms of affiliation, because they have set themselves to say we are going to be with the governing party. So the provisions and the arguments by Mr. Sinkamba, I'm not saying that they lack merit. They have the necessary ingredients for them to be considered in terms of, okay, saying let's wait for this bill, let it not go through because of the decisions, the arguments that Mr. Sinkamba is trying to put across. But the challenge I have personally is that I don't think the judiciary is going to entertain them, because it's like they have set a standard, the governing party and these institutions that we expect to be independent, they have set a standard to say this must go whether we like it or not. Because why should, for instance, why should the LCK their arguments be rejected by the court? Because they provided solid arguments to say the issue to debate is it 64, 74?
74.
77.
77.
Yes. So that was rejected. And in that argument that they took to court, the electoral process bill we are talking about was one of the bills that was challenged. So I don't think, even if Mr. Sinkamba has singled out one bill, the court may entertain them, because of the 77 bills, the court just said no, let Parliament do what they want to do. That's the job, because the Parliament is supposed to make laws. So that's what they looked at. And to me, I don't think we're going to have a favorable outcome as far as I'm concerned.
Ambassador, the Electoral Commission of Zambia is waiting for Parliament to either reject or accept the proposed electoral process bill, which again, for emphasis to our viewers, was intended to accommodate proportional representation and delimitation. Stakeholders are concerned about some other rules that may find their way in the final print of the text. What is your reaction to that, as you also discuss the 8.7 million certified registered voters?
Thank you very much. Sorry I came in late this evening. I didn't realize that there would be traffic so high on a Sunday evening. But anyhow, I'm very happy to find that you guys are doing a great job. Before I go further, Pastor, I want to look in the camera and say Happy Mother's Day. Yeah, I don't know, maybe you already mentioned it before I came.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
Yes. So just, sweetheart, I hope my wife is watching. Yeah. But 8.7 million voters is very, very good. One of the things that I've noticed is it's largely the youth and the women. And these are the most marginalized members of society in our country. As my fellow analyst opined while I was here listening. So I am hoping that the youth will be able to make a decision to say, we have looked at all the manifestos. We've looked at the manifesto of the UPND. We've looked at the manifesto of the Patriotic Front. We've looked at the manifesto of the TONSE Alliance. Now, what are we going to do to ensure that once we have made comparisons of these manifestos, we can have a party that is going to ensure that we get jobs? Clearly, and I say this without any apology, the manifesto of the UPND has been that of employing very, very old people. even though they campaigned on ensuring that they will say it's going to be the youth. And we still see that they still gather, you know, the youth around. You know, you remember the story of a Commando Kuishiwa. You know, they get the kids to do some praise singing, but when the crunch comes to the crunch, I don't know, they get these kids to come and sing praises for them, but we still see Emmanuel Bwalia, 18 years old, die in a sewer pit, which is terrible. It's happening on this, on their very watch. So for me, I will probably pass the other question over to Yasi Chula.
No problem.
But what I wanted to look at is the 8.7 million voters. It's a huge number. It almost looks like it's looking like a referendum. So there can be 8.7 million, but we are hoping that they actually all turn up.
Right.
And then I'm going to close by saying it looks really crazy that last week when we were talking on this same set, we were saying 10 days. I still can't wrap my head around a government trying to change 77 laws, trying to put in 77 laws, 74 laws, compress them. Do you know what that means? You're talking about 5 bills per day. The United States of America, where we copy our democracy from, is 250 years. They still haven't gotten the groove right. They still keep changing laws along the way. We are changing 77. We are trying to thrust down the throats of Zambians 77 laws in 10 days. God help us. What kind of law are these going to be? What kind of time? Because you know what happens is, first, cabinet sits, and then they say we need to come up with some laws. And then they do a cabinet approval. And then they say now there is this cabinet paper which now eventually goes to parliament. And then there's the first reading, the second reading, and the third reading until the president signs. How? Where did we get to this? Who's got a gun onto our head for us to say we gotta pass these bills?
As a matter of fact, Ambassador, while you're on that,
Indeed.
Would you even know what is being changed in the 77 bills?
It's like a shotgun. It's just a scattering. It's all over the map.
Because the reading on the floor of the House is just a summary.
It's a summary
of the objectives of the...
You can't change life-changing laws in 10 days, especially 77 of them. Let me get back to the one that you mentioned very ably, Pastor, and this is the one on the electoral bill or anything like that. We have held elections 7 times. And from what I understand from experts such as JSP, State Council John Sangwa, he says what the constitution that we have works very well.
Yeah.
It works. There ain't a problem. In America, they will say, if it ain't broke,
don't fix it.
Don't fix it. Why are we trying to fix something in 10 days? I think I'll end there, Papa.
Right. Now, the UPND promised that they were going to remove the cyber crimes law from our statutes. Well, they did not. And the Economic Freedom Fighters President, KASONDE MWENDA, as of last week, was arrested because he said something, according to the police, which was false information regarding the motorcade of the president allegedly having gotten lost while on a tour in Chinsali. Now, before I ask my analysts to comment on this arrest of a presidential candidate who hasn't actually paid his nomination fees, maybe because he was caught up in this particular matter, to this day he has never been released. But let's watch the video of KASONDE MWENDA, the video that landed him in problems.
presidential motorcade ukuluba mwali ufako ati presidential motorcade bina ba president baluba mwene bambo kushunguruka umusebo oyu ni mutawuni ukunilelo kuchinsali provincial headquarters of Muchinga province provincial headquarters misebweshi first abe nebeka badauta utet even main road obviously la kumpanga awe main road iyi nemulemona going to the stadium mutawuni kwati mwali nkondo even western gravel mutawuni omo kwenyu CDF sort sana misebo bamipangire shiba hakainde ekirema abawomba sana Mwebena Zambia, this is preposterous. This is unacceptable. You can't neglect provincial headquarters. Mwebena Chinsali, because this government has forsaken you. This is the birthplace of our founding father, Kenneth Kaunda. Uku ekwa fuma impalume Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe. This is the birthplace of Zambia's democracy, independence, and the revolution, which we are enjoying today. But it has been forsaken, neglected. Leroba President Bayako, Baireko mu 2021 after Bawina kuya vepa bantu tukabiwa mishe misebo babepe fintu. 4 years later, now they are turning around because tabeshi beno kwa kuya imisebo neglected, no signpost, no what kwa inkondo, and yet this is a beautiful place. It used to be a beautiful place, neglected. This is the main stadium. What ni kumushi? This is provincial headquarters. This is a CDF. This is a Kwenyu. This is a Sotsana. No, we can't have such kind of segregated kind of development. We can't have such kusula abantu baleka kwat na emote mu Zambia. Mwise kulusaka kuno na kuma places kumbi kwa diba developed. Loeshe kuchinsa ukwale kele shiwa. Mwebena Zambia, it's time we have a leadership. If we as economic freedom fighters who develop all Zambia without partiality, who make sure konse mwebena Zambia komuli uko kuchinsali will come and turn it upside down. Ukabanama shopping malls, who come and bring proper transport, ama buildings, ama sports facilities, because Zambia impia oko shaba, but it is not being distributed properly. Ngama minerals Fingi who get money even from the copper belt, who distribute impia ishile makuma minerals aba alipela ma tax holidays impia shiafe as will return the money.
That is the video that landed President Kasonde MWENDA.
But Pastor, you also told me that you had a video of President Kasonde MWENDA being put in that Salangata truck. Do we have that?
So maybe we play them back to back. Let's also play the Kasonde MWENDA video of him now being transported, and after that quickly let's play yesterday the party reacted that actually Kasonde MWENDA has gone missing. Now, I don't know what that means, but here is another clip from the Secretary General, Mr. Masuzio. Here is another clip. Let's play them back to back. Then we can ask the colleagues to discuss.
To explain categorically, because they had charged Kasonde MWENDA C and the police informed the country. Now, why should you continue doing investigations even after you have charged someone? And we don't know the new law, how it has been explained. If a crime committed in the cyberspace using the cyber law, someone needs to be taken to the scene. Those people responsible, Kasonde MWENDA has gone alone without an accompaniment, without a lawyer. If anything happens, the blood is on you. If anything happens, the blood is on you. We are not happy as economic freedom fighters. We are not happy as Zambians the way you are abusing the cyber law and the Public Order Act. And this is the situation. People in the diaspora, the international community, the church, the chiefs, why are you not talking on behalf of the Zambian people? Where are you, the NGOs? Where are you, the church mother bodies? Where are you, the pastors? Where are you, the international community? Where are you, Human Rights Commission? Someone is being abused and we are watching. You cannot have elections where candidates are being blocked. You cannot have elections where candidates are being harassed.
That's right. Those 3 videos. The first one, Kasonde Mwenda, the video that, you know, landed him in trouble. The number 2 video is him now being transported to the crime scene in Chinsali. And the third one, his party says actually he's not in Chinsali, he's gone missing.
My God.
Chiwoyo, what is your reading into all of this?
Okay, so I'm going to argue it from the angle of maintaining these ridiculous laws, or even just to, making them worse. I'll start by just making a quick comment on what Ambassador Mkwita talked about, the embracing and celebrating bad laws that you have found because they are benefiting you. Okay? If you look at even the constitution that we just amended against opposition by public will, a lot of people thought the process to amend the constitution was hurriedly done and it was not in the benefit of public interest. What did the UPN do? They changed it, and within less than 2 months they came back to say, no, actually we are going to change it again. Okay, so we are coming from that background of dealing with people who can celebrate a bad law for as long as it benefits them. Now, when I look at the issue of Kasonde Mwenda, to be very honest with you, I only came to know about that video when he was arrested because I was asking myself, I mean, I see Kasonde Mwenda's videos on TikTok and I find them hilarious rather than criminal in nature. Okay? I watch them to laugh. So when I saw that, but then what it struck me with this arrest and also the action of the police is just how much they want to retard this country. If you remember very well, I mean, for any scholar of history, you remember that the last time the police used to arrest people and take them to far-flung places where they would be mentally tortured and frustrated, it was around the pre-independence era. If you've read the history of Zambia's independence struggle, you find that a lot of our leaders used to get arrested in Lusaka. They will be transported to Kabompo. They will be transported to Sesheke. They will be transported to Lundaz, far-flung places. And that was not an unplanned undertaking by the police. It was all an attempt to torture them. So now, this is more than 60 years after independence. Why would the UPND want to take us back to colonial days? Kasonde Mwenda is a resident of Lusaka. Assuming that that hilarious video he posted on TikTok was,
I love your reference.
Yeah,
your inference.
Was criminal in nature. Why not prosecute him here?
Yeah.
Okay. And then PK, if you do your simple analysis, just not very complicated, get to understand how many political arrests have been made and actually prosecuted by the police in the last 4.5 years of the UPND. So you get a sense that these arrests are about intimidating opponents. It's about forcing them into silence. At the end of the day, it's about depriving them of their democratic right to contribute to the discourse of this country, especially that we are going towards election. For goodness sake, I mean, I've been to Chinsali before, okay? Chinsali is rural, okay? And if you say that, if you say that the roads are not tarred, and what is wrong, by the way, what is wrong with the police getting lost? What is very wrong with the police missing their way?
No, Mr. Shinyangwe, police should not get lost.
Well, for us who live in compounds, I would say for us who live in slums of Lusaka, we have cases where the police come and maybe you got a wrong address.
Because can you imagine if the police get lost? What about us mere mortals? I think that's why the police were upset. And by the way, Vapike, how come we're having so many Mbala mafias?
I'll come to your time is coming. Hold on, hold your fire, Ambassador.
We need the rosy guy.
Your time is coming.
There. No, I have to protest. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. So I think just to summarize, to be very honest with you, that was a ridiculous.
Do you think that, based on your argument, do you think that maybe what really landed him in trouble is him exposing the underdevelopment of my village. I come from Chinsali. We are underdeveloped. That I must confess.
In my view, taking the fire away from Mr. Chiwoyu Sinyangwe, I think that is what the problem was. They were like, we have been exposed. We don't have a navigation system here in Chinsali. We are the police and we got lost. I mean, how do you get lost? How does the police get lost?
They've refused.
That they didn't
Officially, they've refused that they were doing a U-turn. It was part of the, they dropped the president, and you need to turn so that when the president has finished his events, you don't go to 10, you would have already turned.
No, but Pastor, then why should that amount to a criminal act?
That's why cyber law. I'll come to you.
Please, okay.
I'll come to you.
I'm on fire tonight.
But since
can I hear an amen?
But since you're on fire, Ambassador, I'll come to speech analyst later. Since you are on fire and you're on the floor already, Chiwo, you mentioned something here to say Kasonde Mwenda's videos are hilarious.
Indeed.
And when I watched that video about the presidential motorcade getting lost, you know what came to my mind? That Trevor Noah should never come to Zambia and do comedy here. He'll be arrested.
He'll be arrested.
Because his comedy gets facts and he put a little twist to it.
Yeah.
And then you begin to laugh.
Yes.
In Zambia, he will be cited for cyber crimes.
Of course.
Are we safe that something hilarious as Kasonde Mwenda's video should land him in trouble?
We are not. There is actually what is called in English, Pastor, in reference to what Yasinyangwe has said, it's called comic relief. Comic relief is a concept that takes something very, very serious and then turn it into something that you need to laugh about so that you do not cry. It's a reality. So for instance, I'll give you an example of a guy who I actually share a name with. His name is Anthony Sguazzini. He's an Italian-American comedian, and he feasts on comic relief. So he even says, you know, every time there is a tragedy, people call me up to say, what's your comment? And others just actually call and say, no, Anthony, don't do it, don't do it. So for instance, when the marathon guys were shot, I said, there are some lines you shouldn't cross. And that's the finishing line. you don't get arrested for that. Because on the Mwenda, as Yasi Nyangwe said, he takes very, very serious issues. He lights up our burden of, instead of crying. So you know, something very, very serious, but we tend to laugh about it. But then that's what I was saying, PK, that how did we get to this level? For instance, we didn't even know about cyber laws until Michael Gonzalez put them up on the United States of America embassy. When were we going to know that there were cyber laws? You know, when Amnesty International, when the United Nations Human Rights Commission, when Human Rights Watch, when the U.S. State Department talk and say there is evidence, ample evidence, that there has been a shrunken space of democracy, free expression, and free association in Zambia. That's what they're talking about. And I end there because the brothers have already opined it much better than I have.
The Mbala Mafia.
Which one?
The speech analyst.
There are two of them.
I don't know about Chiwo yet.
Baba. No, I think I'm the Mbala angel.
Mike, you saw that other video from the Secretary General of EFF, Suzio, who is claiming, actually is making a very strong allegation that actually Kasonde Mwenda has gone missing. Because what we were told by the police is that he has been transported to Chinsali. Now, I am actually scared because of cyber. I am actually scared to say that we have been contacted by some unknown people, anonymous people, that, and this, I don't know whether we should say it or it will land us in problems until the police confirms it, that he hasn't gone missing.
I share your fear.
You know what I mean?
I share your fear.
But if I were to say, some people have contacted us to say, actually in transiting him from Lusaka to Chinsali, he fell ill and he was admitted at Kalalantekwe in Shiwangandu. Now, the police haven't confirmed this. His own party is saying Kasonde Mwenda has gone missing. I don't know whether saying this is tantamount to cyber crime, because until the police confirms it, but it actually puts a burden of proof on the police to say, if the party that Kasonde Mwenda leads is claiming that he has gone missing and is not yet in Chinsali, what do you say about that, speech analyst?
I think what is lacking here is that sometimes when a figure of Mr. Kasonde Mwenda is arrested and is supposed to be transported, the police need to inform family members and probably his political party to be aware, to avoid such instances. To
avoid speculation.
Because I saw a statement of the police where they are clarifying. I think they are responding to their party secretary general to say that he's gone missing. But I think to avoid all these...
What did they say?
I didn't go into details. I just read the first paragraph where they are talking about clarifying that he's not gone missing. But I didn't go into details of that statement. But I think in future, we have seen this before, like as stated by my brother here, to say these practices were done a long time ago, where someone is arrested in Lusaka, is transported anywhere within Zambia. But we only came to see this too much under the UPND administration. I remember the likes of fugitive now, Chimshatali. He was arrested, I think he went as far as Lukuru. He
had to walk back.
So these issues that the UPND are doing, they are not adding any value to them as a political party. I want to tell the police and inform them to say, look, sometimes politicians make political statements which should not be taken with that impetus to arrest and bring this person before court. If our viewers remember, President Hakainde Hichilema, during his time in opposition, he said it on public media, he said it in public that before President Edgar Lungu, late President Edgar Lungu receives intelligence report, he had a privilege to look at that report. Now, which one is more criminal? Because the information that is availed to the president, that is state secret, it's classified information. It's only supposed to be seen by the sitting head of state. Now, President Hichilema, nobody arrested him. They looked at him to be politicking. Now, when you look at Mr. Kasonde Mwenda saying the presidential convoy has gone missing and they didn't find their way, I don't think the police should have looked at him. Oh, Mr. Kasonde Mwenda, first of all, is a politician. He may have been politicking. But because we have got cyber laws that want to punish political opponents, that's why we have seen the police lash and they pick Mr. Kasonde Mwenda, and now we are being told that he has gone missing. Now police are responding. So to avoid all these things, the Inspector General of Police needs to understand that in a political environment, in a political mood, politicians are going to make statements that are purely doing politics. So you must have your own brains within the police to say, no, I think let's not arrest. But if the system, if the political system pushes you to arrest, then you must have your grounds. Remember, the president has told the police to first investigate, then arrest. And also, the National Prosecution Authority, the DPP, he did issue a statement where I said, I think some of the investigative police officers are not doing a good job in terms of presenting someone before court. Because you are going to present someone before court, then there's no evidence. So Mr. Kasonde Mwenda, I think, is being mistreated unfairly. Remember, he's a presidential candidate. He has been campaigning all along. And if you are going to make him miss filing in his nomination papers, meaning you have taken away his constitutional right to vote as a to be voted to, and also to vote as a presidential candidate. So in all these things also, something that has come to my mind is that when Mr. Kasonde Mwenda was arrested, on the other side in Western Province, President Hakainde Hichilema was commissioning a road, the Mongu Limurunga Road, which the locals there, I don't know whether it's the locals or it's the UPND calling it a treason road. And sadly, PK, it was, I think, when that incident happened, it was my first time to watch it closely, and I couldn't, I held back myself, because when you watch that video critically, even if the UPND, they are not seeing anything wrong, that was a very serious offense that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema committed. Because aside the traffic situation that was, if you watch the video today and the insults that were uttered at President Lungu by the UPND members, I don't think you can like it. And today we sit here, the same issues have been done by UPND cadres, and no one is arresting anyone. People have been insulted by UPND cadres on social media platforms. And when we have the cyber security that is supposed to follow them, it is not following them. But what do we have? We have why me? I'm not saying what he did was right, but we have why me, who is in jail because of insults. But why is it that UPND members who have insulted publicly, their videos are trending online, the police have not arrested anyone?
Perhaps we have two sets of laws. Did you want to say something?
Just to add, just a quick one to buttress what my brother said. You see, about this wild decision of transporting so-called political suspects all over the country, I have one fear. You see, we are a country right now that has got some unconcluded business, okay, where we have failed to bury the president who died simply because there was hatred that existed. So now, as you are transporting these so-called political suspects around the country, how are you going to, and I'm saying this with the utmost consideration and responsibility, but with great fear as an individual, based on what we've experienced. How are you going to handle a funeral where one of these political, you are canvassing around the country, who die in a road traffic accident? How are you going to deal with that?
God forbid.
God forbid, by the way. God forbid. How are you going to deal with it?
But yes, Nyangwe, didn't that happen with Chishimba Kambwili and the
Of course, those were escorting him. Now we're talking about a person like in the... Okay, what if Kambwili actually is the one who died in that unfortunate and unnecessary transfer of
Still, the weight of the matter is the same.
It's the same.
Because his two brothers, may their souls rest in peace,
oh my God,
wouldn't have died had it not been for that case.
But they were necessary.
And it was,
they had to move
it was in
him.
Chinsali, in Kasama.
Yeah,
Kasama.
So you've got this. Now, if you cannot draw lessons from that, because remember, for those brothers of Mr. Kambwili, and may souls rest in peace, who died, you can only shudder to imagine the amount of destabilization that has happened to their families.
Their families.
And who has taken account for that?
There was a wife who lost a husband. There were children who lost their father. When all this could have been done from Lusaka.
Centrally.
Because the law does not change because it's in Kasama or Chinsali. No. It still remains uniform. Zambia has been the last bastion of democracy in the region. It's been known as the beacon of peace which follows laws. But then why all of a sudden, when you even know that Pastor Kennedy Mambo, Chiwoyu Sinyangwe, Yambala Mafia, they have got a fixed abode, why would you transport? And you know, another thing is, you raise suspicion just to steal the fire from Yasinyango. Suppose something happens shortly after the transportation of Kasonde MWENDA 500 kilometers away from Lusaka to Chinsali. And the family says he was of great health until he came back. Because to begin with, we don't know what happened during that 500-kilometer trip. It's not like he was accompanied by his wife. It's not like he was accompanied by his son.
His lawyers.
You know, his lawyers. You know, it's the same, since you also mentioned the 60th President Edgar Lungu. Last week, this very week, he clocked 11 months frozen in Pretoria in a steel casket. His wife, Madam Esther Lungu, his daughter Tasila, his son Daliso, another daughter Chiesu, they are still in a state of mourning. So we clocked 11 months. I saw on KBN TV, PK had posted this. It's going to be exactly 1 year in very few weeks. So if we cannot take care of a burial of a head of state, because like you mentioned, Yasinyangwe, there was bad blood between the current president and the previous president. I think we need to do some serious introspection. But then I digress. Pastor, this is your floor. This is your show.
Right. Let's move on to yet another story, story number 3. Another major story that happened last week. There seemed to be a lot of movement in the TONSE Alliance camp. We saw the We Are One Zambia Alliance, otherwise
WOZA.
known as WOZA, leaving their camp and migrating with their pots and cooking utensils and everything and say, we have found a new home under the TONSE Alliance led by Brian Mundubile. Now, here is a quick video clip from the TONSE Alliance leader who welcomed the new party or new colleagues that have gone to his side, to his camp, and he also took advantage to call on others to emulate WOZA and join TONSE Alliance. Here is Honorable Brian Mundubile.
The English say, on a good day, let only good words be spoken. Countrymen and women, today is indeed a good day. We witnessed a signing ceremony between the TONSE Alliance and WOZA. The two alliances responded to the many calls by the Zambian people, calling upon the opposition to unite. I'm very happy and proud that both sides, starting with the TONSE Alliance, the first Vice President, State Council Chifu Mbanda, Second Vice President, Exuda Mwenya, and all the TONSE Alliance Council of Leaders, members of Parliament, and all the structures across have gone all out in an effort to unite with other opposite political parties. May I take this opportunity to pay a glowing tribute to President Kapemba Simbawa, State Council Chifu Mbanda, Reverend Nawa, my sister Dr. Ponga, Comrade Mohavi Lungu, Comrade Chulumanda, for your efforts. This indeed is a good day, and I'm very sure that together we are going to make this country proud. Countrymen and women, fellow Zambians, brothers and sisters from every corner of our great nation. Today, we invite you into something special for our nation, 100 days of hope. a groundswell of unity from this very moment until the elections on 13th of August 2026. Today marks that exact moment. This is not just a launch of that campaign. This is the birth of a movement of unity, a movement of purpose, a movement of national transformation. My fellow citizens, I ask us to step into these 100 days with humble hearts, seeking God's wisdom for our nation. Because this is not just a manifesto shouted at you. It's a promise we make to Zambia together. One citizen to another, guided by a simple but powerful truth. We rise by lifting each other. And so it begins with an honest question. A question for every Zambian, in every home, in every community. What can I do, starting from today, to help Zambia's future succeed? To grow in unity? To inspire another person to join this dream? And what
begin? I know, Ambassador, you were the last one to speak, but I'll throw this one to you, because I think you might have attended this particular event. WOZA finally?
Indeed.
They were quite nomadic. Finally, we hope they will settle there?
That's how it looks like. And you know, for me, what was, I did attend because I follow these issues very closely. If you're going to analyze issues, you have to be around there in order to capture the mood, in order to capture the sense, the air, the smells and everything. And what I saw there was quite euphoric. I saw the electricity in the Golden Peacock Hotel with the day that engineer Kapembo Simbao, is it Kapambwe? Kapembo Simbao, the president of the
another Mbala Mafia.
Another Mbala Mafia. There's so many of them. I can't stand this. Tell these Mbala Mafias. And Chisani ones. I feel like a Daniel in a den full of lions. Yeah, it was just amazing, because in the interest of democracy, they say that democracy only thrives when there is a strong opposition. And I support that a lot. So to me, it was great to see these wonderful fathers of Zambia, Kapembo Simbao, Mohabi Lungu, George Chulumanda, Peter Sinkamba, Sakwiva Sikota, all these political heavyweights saying we are collapsing our ambitions to run for president so that we don't fracture the vote. We are going to join one guy, Brian Mundubile, because we think that united we stand and divided we fall. So for me, that was a score for democracy. Honorable Simbao, George Cholumanda, Mohabi Lungu, Sakwiva Sikota, great thing, guys. Please do not feel ashamed of that, you know. I mean, there has to come a point when you know that not everybody can lead. You can lead via other people. And from what I understand, my pastor, because you told me to be brief, I'm told the queue is getting long towards Brian Mundubile. We should be expecting to see a couple of major guys, other heavy hitters. I can't name names because, you know, I am not Tonse, I am not HK, I am not SP, but from what I understand from the feelers that we get, others have decided to, they have seen. Look, this was a major boost for the Mundubile campaign. With a few days remaining, it was a major. In fact, Bapike, I should tell you that I got a call from the New York Times about 3 days ago. After that event, they called me up on their database because, of course, once I wrote for them, later on I was an ambassador. So they called me, say, what is this? Are we seeing a two-horse race coming? Also, can you speak to Ambassador Gonzalez's speech? Remember, we had that, the whole program last week. So I think it is a great thing, and from what I understand, we gotta watch this space, because others have decided that, you know, united we stand and divided we fall, and they're saying, look, Brian Mundubile seems to have gained some traction. So whether you like Brian Mundubile or not, the traction he has gained, others are saying we should be able to ride on this traction. There has been one negative thing. Others didn't find that nice, because he said, guys, can we work together? But the reaction from others was almost disparaging, which I still don't understand. But I'll end there.
You can end there. Mike Sichula,
yeah.
While it is, Ambassador is saying there is euphoria, there was this, you know, electric energy when WOZA went there, it still also sounds as if there's a lot of fear in the Brian Mundubile campus. We have seen Council George Chisanga host a number of back-to-back press briefings warning the ECZ and the government that if you have performed well, why do you want to block Brian Mundubile? Why do you think so far there hasn't been anything substantial to say Brian will be blocked? But there is a lot of preemptive statements. Even yesterday, the presidential spokesperson, that's Honorable Binwell Mpundu, also went live warning against a possible scheme to block Brian Mundubile. Why do you think there is so much talk and apprehension around the candidature of Brian Mundubile?
Okay, so you look, when you are a presidential candidate and you are seen to attract attention from not only Lusaka or Mporokoso, where you come from, but it looks to be a national support. You are bound to be a person of interest by the sitting government. So Mr. Mundubile is a person of interest of the UPND, which is trying to defend their stay in power. Then there are people, sometimes there are people within the system who are going to feed information to say this is likely to happen, so you must begin to speak about. So when you look at the likes of Binwell Mpundu coming out, George Chisanga coming out, they are not speaking from without. These have got informers. Some of them can be within the system, and they sit in the political discussions or political strategy of the governing party, even some government institutions. Then they'll feed this information to people because they also don't like a situation where this country becomes a one-party state when it is a democratic state. So we're likely, when these individuals speak, they are speaking from a point of information based on what they have received. Then coming to WOZA joining the TONSE Alliance, it is something that I expected, considering that it's also an alliance joining another alliance. But one thing that our viewers need to understand is that as we speak today, a lot of people have been associating Mr. Brian Mundubile with FDD to say he's going to get a certificate of adoption under FDD. But as you should remember, FDD is part of the TONSE Alliance. So there is going to be a planning by these people within the TONSE Alliance. In the event, for instance, they want to issue him an adoption certificate under FDD, and there's a court case, or someone wants to throw in a court case. We have already seen there's a gentleman who has gone, he has gone to court under the FDD, who is challenging the leadership of the FDD. So the coming of TONSE and other political parties within TONSE, I see a situation whereby Mr. Mundubile, on a day of him filing in his adoption papers, he may have 4 or 5 adoption certificates. In the event someone blocks his adoption on party A, then they'll just remove the other file from another party and file in. Because there's a lot of imingalato, let me put it that way. There's a lot of imingalato because as we speak today, a number of people are saying Mr. Chifumu Banda is not appearing in the registrar as president of FDD and a lot of things. So, Mr. Kapemba Simbao and Mahabi Rungu coming to join the TONSE, it is one of the special purpose vehicles that can be used if they want to file in and they see there's a stumbling block somewhere, because we are bound to this issue of blocking Mr. Mundubile is not something that people should underplay. It is something that can happen. And as political big heads, they need to plan ahead. So Mr. Mundubile, when he is going to go for his filing in his nomination, I'm not seeing him go there with one adoption certificate. He may have 5.
Okay, maybe let me just add a bit.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so PK, one thing I can tell you is that what has happened the last 4 years of the UPND, or the biggest existential threat that Zambia's democracy faces right now, it's the UPND's continued to stay in power. Because for the first time we have a party that is not preoccupied with strengthening its base, but is focused on weakening the opposition.
Its enemies.
Its enemies, okay? Remember, the tenets of democracy is the ability for of your enemy to exist. Now, the UPND stayed in opposition for 23 years.
Yes.
For simple reason. The political parties that were in power at that time respected the fact that for democracy to thrive at that time, UPND needed to continue undisturbed existing as an opposition. But now, when you look at the behavior of the UPND the last 4.5 years, the focus has been to try to decimate the opposition. Look, the PF could have had their own internal issues, but the PF right now, it's on its way into the grave, partly because of the push from the UPND. Okay, so right now, you've got this amalgamation of political parties in the opposition that are happening, which are unsettling the UPND because they've forgotten one thing: life does not provide for a vacuum. Okay, so as we go towards the election, Zambia has always had a standby opposition political party. So if it's not up to the UPND to decide that they should be an opposition, the Zambian people have come to know and accept that our democracy thrives and purely exists on the basis of having an alternative.
Yes.
Okay, which is what the government right now is in a hurry to destroy. We just talked about, is it Ambassador Mukwita, talked about the election rules. Now, I love football. You know that I love football. The credibility of any competition is its rules.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you are going to call people to a competition, that is 2 minutes before starting, and then you say these are the rules, you take them to Parliament, and guess what is in Parliament? The biggest defenders of those rules are members of the ruling party. Then it gives you an idea that there could be some element of collusion. So if there are going to be a collusion between ECZ, the ruling party, as they have been defending these rules, and unfortunately, the speaker is Ned Moti. Okay, the biggest victim or the biggest loser will be Zambia's democracy. So for me, when you say there's a possibility that they might prevent the opposition from running or fielding a candidate, it's very possible. And Ambassador Mukwita understands better the international politics. In Africa, Central Africa, Southern Africa, there is a way that certain behavior tend to be a bit contagious. Okay, I mean contagious. Sometimes what you see happen in the next country will happen in the next country. You saw that there was a wave of ruling parties losing elections.
Of one term.
Okay. How did that wave got killed? It was by the existing political parties destroying the existing ruling party. You saw what happened in Tanzania.
In Tanzania.
Yeah.
Similar situation in Uganda.
In Uganda, yes, yeah.
And unfortunately, these are the close buddies of the president.
Exactly.
Okay? And they say, show me your friends and I'll tell.
Yes.
You're correct.
In
Bemba,
Right. Let's move on to yet another story. This is story number 4. Now, actually, coincidentally, talks about the UPND. Chiwoyu, you said the UPND is more focused on destabilizing the existence of other political parties. There is a new development within itself, the UPND. It could be an implosion, and it has to do with adoptions.
Okay.
Members of the UPND have cried foul. We as a media house and many other media houses have received these numerous complaints from members of the UPND saying when they went to file in their nominations, they were told, leave your original NRC, leave your grade 12 original
certificate,
and
original.
go. And the message came out to say no one who is not adopted should
stand as
an independent. Now, let's just listen to this audio quickly from one of the UPND strong members who wanted to stand in a named constituents, which we will not cite, so that we protect the integrity. And also, I must mention that our team had to edit this audio with a bit of AI assistance, again for confidentiality.
Indeed, to protect the source.
The source had to be protected. So here is an audio of what's happening inside the UPND, and then I'll let my analysts discuss.
And I filed in my application for adoption at our party's, that is UPND, secretariat. And what's happening is that we were all, every contestant, mayor, council chair, and member of parliament, were all asked to leave our grade 12 certificates. All of us, whoever submitted papers, our grade 12 original certificates were left with the secretariat. Okay, so now I got interested when I saw your post talking about confiscating NRCS. I don't know much about that issue, but the real issue is what I'm telling you now. My grade 12 original certificate, and indeed every candidate who is vying for the position of council chair, mayor, and the member of parliament, we left our grade 12 original certificates. Here is my fear. Or here are our fears. Our fears are that we got information that the system is aware that most of these old MPs have fallen out of favor of that if today I stood as independent, I'll beat the incumbent at 10 hours in the morning. And this is the scenario in most constituencies, in most of the southern constituencies, most of the southern province constituencies. These old MPs have fallen out of favor of the voters. So now, we want to make sure that if the adoption process leaves us out, as they are so determined to return themselves, if I may use that term, to return themselves to parliament. If I decide, or if anyone decided to go independent, we will not be able to file in at the Electoral Commission of Zambia because our certificates are not there. We will only be given those certificates after the whole nomination process is completed.
That's an AI-assisted audio from a member of the UPND giving us a very, very detailed, disturbing development within the party. Now, Chiwoyu, I'll start with you. When PF were going into an election 2021, some of the members were not adopted, like JJ Banda, like Munia Zulu, like Binwe Mpundu, and they stood as independents.
Yes.
There they are in the House. The UPND has made it very clear to say no one should stand as an independent.
Okay, so it's got a background. In my view, when you look at the UPND, the UPND's embryo is of autocracy, okay? The UPND's umbilical cord is etched in dictatorship. Why do I say so? I was just looking at their elections, their constitution, okay?
Yeah.
The UPND have got a constitution that only allows for the election of one position. So you elect the president, and then you elect other members, and you give them to the president, and the president starts deciding on behalf of everyone. So what does that do? It kills the internal democracy of the political party. You and me remember that there was a time, especially the MMD. For me,
is that what happens?
Yes.
I thought they just had their
so during their convention,
yes,
they only elected the president, and then they elected members of the central committee. And those members, did you hear them elect a secretary general?
No.
Did you elect them vice president?
No.
Did you hear them elect a treasurer?
I thought even in other political parties, the secretary generals are appointed.
Okay, let me talk about it. Let me just even mention, I'll use the example of the MMD, which I understand was the best model of democracy. When the MMD went to the convention, all the positions were...
They were elective, yeah.
They were elective.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, we've got a UPND, what's this? Manifesto, or rather the constitution of the UPND, which allows for the election of the president, and then you elect members of, they call it, is it national management?
National management, the NMC.
And then once you elect those people, you throw it to the president. The president starts deciding. Now, if you are going to have a society where all the wisdom is deposited in one individual, and all of you just work as a part and parcel of ensuring that the authority of that person is dispensed, then there's a problem. So because the president, because the UPND is overly centralized, it's not decentralized. Remember, one of the causes of even corruption is this over-centralization of power. So in the UPND right now, the only person, for me, for lack of a better word, who is allowed to think and make critical decisions, it's just the president. So it comes back to the issue of adoption. So now, if you are going to say they do an adoption, so for you to be adopted, you have to be adopted essentially by the president, because the president now is in charge of everyone. Now, it brings me to the issue now you've talked about, where you withdraw the credentials of that person. First of all, I think it should be, I'm not sure, but it should be criminal for you to hold on to vital...
Because those are personal.
Those are personal things.
Documents.
Documents.
They say whom you are, where you can go, and what you can do.
Okay, so now you confiscate these documents. Now, this is the ruling party that is confiscating the document of their own members. And then again, our constitution allows for freedom of association and your ability to aspire for any elective position. You should not be inhibited, because now it's unconstitutional and illegal. So now the bigger question is that if the UPND can stop their own from standing, what will stop them from stopping the opposition? For me, that is the biggest fear.
Now I see the pattern you are drawing here.
That's my greatest fear. If they can stop one of their own to make a decision on seeking election, what will stop them from stopping Harikala? What will stop them from stopping Mundubi? Yeah, because they are weaponizing their structure. Okay, so for me, the bigger picture is, yes, I know due to the over-centralization of power in the presidency in the UPND, this was not a problem. And most of those guys, and with due respect, the contacts that are coming to you, they are coming to you because now they are affected. They didn't see the problem of over-centralizing power. Now that they are on the wrong end of the cycle, now they are coming to you to say, okay, look. And of course, you've got no option. I mean, you've got an obligation as the media to highlight these ills, because you need to protect the stability and the progress of the society. But for me, a political party that does not internalize democracy should not, and we should not expect that it can transpose that democracy to a national scale.
Speech analyst, this didn't come as a surprise, because many months earlier, the youth chairperson for UPND, Gilbert Risoniso, stood on a podium, I think it was an event at Woodlands Stadium, and made a pronouncement that no one will be allowed to stand as an independent. We analyzed it here. We laughed about it. We thought it was a joke. Lo and behold, many months later, it is here. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. You know, the UPND believes in the politics of tolerance by practice. Then the UPND, actually, no, the UPND does not believe in politics of tolerance by practice. They will not tolerate you to do what you want, even if you are you believe in democracy. The UPND believes in unity. That is, they manage you. They manage you. They have told you to come join us, but we are going to manage you so that you forget about your ambitions. So when you look at the aspiring candidates that were campaigning across the country, they were building the image of the UPND in those constituencies they were campaigning. And they spent resources. And they were doing this when the police were blocking opposition members of aspiring MPs to campaign in any constituency across the country. So the UPND, when these aspiring candidates were doing this, it was okay for them, because at the grassroots they were building the UPND brand. On the other hand, they put everybody else to not to campaign. But now that what they created has come to haunt them, it has now become a problem where even the president himself, actually you've mentioned about Gilbert Risoniso, the president himself went on the podium, should be in Western Province. He said that if you are not adopted, remain loyal to the party, we are going to give you jobs.
In foreign service.
In foreign service and everywhere. Now look, when you have, we have about 226 constituencies, right? So assuming per constituency there are about 3 UPND aspiring candidates that have not been adopted, we are going to have about 1,000 people waiting to go into the diplomatic
But
service.
there is only 39 embassies. I was an ambassador, right? There's only 39 embassies. How are you going to absorb all of those? Anyhow,
so you get it, PK, huh? So meaning there will be 1,000 people waiting to go into the diplomatic service.
to get 39 jobs.
Now, this is something that we have been condemning here on the analysis. When you go to the SCC, it's someone who was aspiring to be a member of parliament somewhere, appointed as a DG. You go to the
ECZ,
you've
a
got
potential member of parliament for some copper belt.
So that is
even Chipani Mapenzi, or what's his name, that guy?
Or Chipenzi. So that is it. So meaning you are going to have a problem where most of the appointees, if President Hakainde Hichilema wins this August, most of the appointees are going to be politically inclined. And you don't need that in the civil in the diplomatic service. You also don't need that in the civil service. That is wrong. But to bring you to show you that
as you conclude.
Yes, to show you that the UPND even if they are in an alliance, they want to manage you. On 14th February, I think before the 2021 general elections, the UPND formed an alliance. There were about more than 10 political parties. To date, those political parties have never contested any by-election.
The alliances,
the alliance
members.
That's how they do.
So what does that mean? It means the aspiration of Mr. Felix Mutati, Never Smumba, has been managed by the UPND. It has been managed by the UPND. You put political players into a vacuum. You are managing them to forego their political ambitions and only support you. Now, if they can do this to about more than 10 political parties, what about
one individual?
One individual. So this is how. This is why I said in the beginning that the UPND does not believe in politics of tolerance by practice. Right. The UPND believes in politics of unity, but they will manage you.
Right. Ambassador, what do you think is going to happen? Speech analyst there has given us a very profound analysis of what the members of UPND who were hoping to stand have been campaigning.
Indeed.
Now they feel very disenfranchised. What do you think is potentially their next course of action?
But Pastor, your question is very poignant. Let me start by addressing the issue firstly of my personal friend and cousin brother, Gary Nkombo, one of the major flag bearers of the UPND, one guy who kept the spirit of Hakainde Hichilema alive while he was in opposition, one guy that could not even be bought. Where is Gary Nkombo? He cannot even find himself on that seat he has been in Mazabuka for 20 years, even when the constituency has been split into two. My sense is that Gary Nkombo is very scared of my other cousin Hakainde Hichilema, that he does not want to do anything that will hurt him, because he knows he can get in real deep trouble. But now here comes the crunch, Pastor Yasinyangwe, Yasichula. There is what is called you cannot stop an idea whose time has come. You cannot stop it. President Hakainde Hichilema was in opposition for 20 years, 23 years, and he lost 5 times, 5 damn times. But he kept on coming back. You hit him with a stick, he came back with a knife. You hit him with a fork, he came back with a gun. Until eventually, in 2021, he became president. So in my view, the way I know Zambian politics, I've studied it for quite a while now, Brian Mundubile is going to run. I am most certain. And I also have the privilege of knowing what is happening in the diplomatic cause. I know that the diplomatic cause are not happy about the current administration stopping the opposition from selling their ideas in public. There has been no public rallies in 5 years. When the United States State Department, when the African Union, when the United Nations Human Rights Commission, when Amnesty International says, please, let democracy breathe, they have been concerned about the fact that for 5 years, the opposition have not been allowed. And now they are watching the Zambian government's elections like a hawk. And they do not want what happened in Tanzania with Madam Suluhu, Samia, where about 1,000 people had to die for democracy. They do not want that. They are not happy about what happened in Mozambique, where, you know, El Chapo or whatever, the other guy, there had to be about 300 people dying. They have always considered Zambia as the last bastion of democracy. They prevailed on President Edgar Lungu, even when he could have changed. Take, for instance, President Edgar Lungu would have stopped the elections of 2021 when UPND cadres killed Jeff Congo. In broad daylight. That was an election crime. He would have said, because there is so much violence, we're cancelling the election. But the diplomatic community, our cooperating partner, says you can't do this. You got to let the will of the people prevail. And I know right now, in my heart of hearts, that the diplomatic community, the African Union, you may think they're toothless. The SADC, the Western donors. I mean, look at the fire and brimstone that came out of Michael Gonzalez. I almost said Speedy Gonzalez, but I think that was a cartoon. Yeah. Look at the fire that came out of there. When he said you gotta practice what you preach. When you said you preach this, but what you are actually saying is rubbish. I mean, the man actually used the word rubbish.
He did.
Yeah.
It's in his speech.
It's in his speech.
Yeah.
You know, so when you see that, I have actually stopped wondering whether, I mean, I know how heavy-handed they can be. I've stopped fearing that Brian Mundubile or Harry Kalava or McKenna.
I don't know how you got there, but we were discussing the internal happenings in UPND.
Yes, it comes out back to all this.
Back to
because
the same
remember
thing.
we said, remember I started by saying, I feel bad that personal friend and cousin Gary Combo, I said that was speaking directly to
that.
What they can do. Yes, so we passed through that, but I know, I mean, preacher men, you know, they always bring you back.
and say, as
I conclude, Brian Mundubile, my brother, Tonse Alliance President, Harry Kalawa, Makebi Zulu, Fred Membe, and everybody else, you guys just work hard and provide checks and balances. No one is going to stop you, believe me, because the world is watching. No one will stop anybody because democracy is about competition. There is no way that you can say, I have won a race when you were running alone.
We gotta run and attend to 1, 2, 3 more stories, then we wrap up the evening. It's been very, very packed. You can tell the gentlemen are really offloading. It's been an inventive week of thought-provoking headlines, and they are helping us to understand what might be behind those headlines. What's the motive? That's really the question that the analysts are trying to help us. Now we go to one story that has been running day in, day out, about members of parliament that willingly and publicly said they are going to rally behind the UPND. They are going to stand on the UPND ticket. They thought that the UPND was the only party that is capable of delivering development. And they were received publicly. They made public statements. When a point of order was raised on the floor of the House, Speaker Nelly Mutti reserved the ruling. Lo and behold, today, earlier today, in the day, since now they are working even on Sunday, she rendered the ruling and she said that, well, they only expressed the intention to join the UPND. They never crossed the floor. But before my analysts come in, let's watch Mr. Winter Kawimba, who said every law that they have passed, every bill that they have participated in is an illegality because they are on the floor illegally. And after we run that, I want us also to watch the ruling of Speaker Nelly Mutti, and then I'll allow my analysts to dive in.
The UPND today doesn't see anything wrong with members of parliament that are sitting in the House after they have publicly declared that they have joined the UPND. Legally, that they have crossed the floor. Okay? The Constitution says that there shall be no by-election. 90 days, I think, before elections. There will be no by-election. That is true. But the principle of crossing the floor still remains. Now, here are the ramifications. It means all the bills, in my view, that have been passed with the participation of these members of parliament are illegal. They are void at law. It means all the emoluments that they have been paid, this group, they will have to pay it back. They have to pay the emoluments back in the future. Forget about the UPND. They can be in the comfort zone now with UPND, but UPND will not be there forever. Okay? So what they have done is actually criminal. Obtaining money by false pretenses. You are getting paid, purporting that you are a member of parliament for PF when you have joined UPND. It's criminal. But because UPND wants the numbers, they don't see this as a wrong. They saw it as a wrong with the PF. They don't see it as a wrong now as it is taking place under their watch. So, what happened to PF cabinet ministers is something that is going to happen to these PF / whatever / UPND members of parliament. The same. Now or sometime in the future. So I take comfort myself, Zach, that time renders justice. Okay? You just have to sit back. And time will render justice. In this matter, HH will not be there. UPND probably would have collapsed if they continue with this breach of rules. They'll go the same way that PF went. And these members of parliament will be individuals. They will not even be in power. Most of them will be poor men, because that's what we have seen. You are only rich when you are in parliament. When you come out of there, and they will be called upon to account. So I take comfort to myself that I have seen this before, and I'm sure if I'm still alive, I'll see it happen again.
Honorable members, with regard to points of order raised by Dr. C. Andeleki MP and Mr. Bimpundu MP, respectively, the Office of the Clerk has to date not received any response from Mr. Brian M. Mundubile MP, Mr. George K. Sanga MP, and Mr. Stephen Kampyongo MP, and Honorable Moses F. Moyo MP. Accordingly, in the absence of responses from the members concerned, I am constrained from making a conclusion as to whether these members were alleged to have crossed the floor, who were alleged to have crossed the floor did in fact do so. The 2 points of order by Dr. C. Andeleki MP and Mr. Bimpundu MP, respectively, therefore lack merit due to lack of evidence. As such, Honorable Moses F. Moyo MP, Mr. Brian M. Mundubile MP, Mr. George K. Sanga MP, and Mr. Stephen Kampyongo MP are also in order to continue to discharge their functions in the House as members of Parliament. Honorable members, I wish to inform the House that on 29th April 2026, my office received correspondence from Mr. Chanda Augustine B. Katotobwe regarding his resignation from his position as Member of Parliament. In his letter, Mr. C. Katotobwe informed my office that in accordance with Article 72 of the Constitution, he was resigning from his position as Member of Parliament for Luapula constituency because he had accepted the position of presidential candidate for the Patriots of Economic Progress, PEP, party in the 13th August 2026 general elections. Subsequently, on the same day, I received further communication from Mr. Katotobwe's lawyers, J&M Advocates, confirming that the letter of resignation was duly signed by Mr. Chanda Augustine B. Katotogwe.
That's right. Thank you very much. So those are the two videos. The first one, Chiwoyu, Mr. Winter Kabimba, he appeared on 5FM radio, and he said all those laws and bills, 77 bills we talked about earlier, he said they're illegal. They are illegal because the people who are participating in voting are on the house, on the floor of the house illegally. What does that say, Chiwoyu, as an analyst?
Well, there's one thing about Winter. You got to like him, whether you agree with him or not. He speaks his mind, and also he makes strong references to the truth and the law when he's speaking. The current, and Winter is also a very strong scholar of Zambian history. Okay, he has seen a lot of things, and he makes reference to history, and he makes very credible reference for that matter. The issue that Winter talked about the members of parliament who have crossed the floor, they are what do you call it in Zambia? They are eating with the ruling party, but we are still treating them as opposition members of parliament. Look, if you am going to go on a platform and announce that I'm moving from party green to party red, and there is documentation to that, and you see, these are not defections that were done in secret. They were done in the glare of camera. They were captured. They were on state media. Okay? So if the speaker, if we had an impartial speaker, okay, if we had a credible speaker, we could have expected a different ruling. Okay? But then, what we have right now is a situation that will raise a crisis that will happen when the UPND is out of power. But my greatest fear, or my biggest fear about these maneuvers and machination, which takes me back to the earlier issue we discussed around the 77 laws that have to be passed in one way. What is the agency? Okay? I know that President HH is very methodical in the way he does this thing. What do I mean? HH knows that for him to, because remember, HH doesn't believe in getting anything that he doesn't want. Okay? He's a shrewd businessman, and I think he's a shrewd individual. So what he does is that before he does something wrong, he will correct the path. Okay? How does he do that? Before he makes something against public interest, he will start by making it into law, so that he says that he was following the law. Those members of parliament that are passing the laws right now, I do not think that even in your weirdest mind would believe that they are credible enough to represent the Patriotic Front, because they have crossed to the UPND. So essentially meaning that what they are doing, apart from just being illegal, doesn't reflect the position of the party that sponsored or the people that elected them. Because remember, the principle around the members of parliament sticking to the parties that sponsored them is because you've got this contract with your electorate. They voted you because you were representing green, and as a result they expected you to represent those views. So you do not have that latitude midway to just change and say, look, I belong to red. So for me, of course, the ruling by Nelly MUTTI, Madam Nelly MUTTI, with due respect, I expected it. I did not expect her to rule in public interest. I knew that she was going to rule to reflect the party that sponsored her and the party that she supports. And when I say the party that she supports, I think her affiliation to the UPND is in public domain, not just before she became speaker, even as speaker. We see her dance to the success of the UPND in terms of the success. So for me, it's a tragedy. Okay, it's a tragedy. But again, it will take us backwards, because when you look at what we went through with the the PF, the PF MPs who were ruled to have been sitting in parliament illegally, we should have learned lessons from there and made progress. But now with the UPND, we are still getting backward to a situation that we are trying to avoid. And also, most importantly, it's this disregard for the institution of governance, and most important, the rule of law. Because when you've got a ruling party that is always in the forefront to disregard that which they don't like or that which they don't agree with within the law, then they become the biggest recipe for anarchy. Okay, because they are the people who are in control of authorities of maintaining order. Now, if the people who are in charge of maintaining order are the first one to discard the law and just apply it conveniently, then you know that you are sitting on a time bomb. And unfortunately, our executive, the UPND ruling party, as bad as they are, they've also got a colluding speaker, which just worsens everything. So for me...
You don't seem to be giving us any hope at all.
Look, I'll be very honest with you. When Madam Nelly Mutti became speaker, I celebrated it. Why? Because I knew her as an individual. Before she got that
and
seat,
a woman.
And a woman. Okay? We would have been happily wishing her mothers, happy Mother's Day. And we do it, by the way. But you see,
we shouldn't.
Yeah, okay. But you see,
as Sangwa said, the speaker has gone wrong.
Yeah, but she's a mother.
Yeah.
She's my aunt, but the speaker has gone wrong.
Yeah, so you look at Madam Nelly Mutti, we should have been celebrating her for being the first female speaker with a lot of hope.
But now we are regretting.
I mean, she's the worst speaker.
Especially after that dance. Did you see the dance, by the way, Yasinyang?
Yeah, no, I saw it, and
she was dancing.
At first, I thought it was AI because I was not in the country. So when I saw it on social media, I said, this
AI,
this AI thing. Later on, it's it. So for me, Pastor Kennedy, my greatest regret about this whole thing of having these Formula 1 laws that we are passing now is the fact that the speaker is seen and acting publicly to support the illegalities. And unfortunately, she occupies a very critical position in our system. I don't know if she realizes.
No.
I don't know if Nelly Mutti realizes.
No, she doesn't. She dances. You know, when you're dancing, I don't know, is it Queen?
So let me move to, I hope I'm not cutting you. Let me move to the Mbala Mafia speech analyst. Madam Nelly Mutti in a ruling earlier today, she said the 6 PF members in question have written personally to her saying they have not crossed the floor. They merely expressed intention to support and stand on the UPND ticket after the dissolution of Parliament. Tell us your thoughts.
Well, the argument by the speaker to me is not convincing. I don't think that is the best way to defend an illegality in Parliament. Look, the members of Parliament who the speaker went to ask, I mean, they know the consequences of what they did. So there was no way they were going to, agree to her to say, yes, we have closed the floor. There was no way they were going to do that. The best answer the speaker should have done was that, well, I have not received correspondence from the sponsoring political party, which is the PF in this case. Knowing that the PF is divided, the only PF that the UPND recognizes is the PF for Robert Chabinga, who is their friend, and he says they are in an alliance. But we have not seen any, because which correspondence, which Secretary General is the speaker going to listen to? The Secretary General under Mao Sampa or the Secretary General under Robert Chabinga? So you get the sense. So to me, the response is like you are going to ask the fifth who came to your house to say, did you come to my house to steal? That's what the speaker is merely telling us to say. I went to ask these members of Parliament who members of the public have seen clad in UPND regalia at public.
Who is that guy?
Public events.
Stephen Moyo or something.
The deputy speaker. The deputy speaker.
And while you are at it, speech analyst, before I move to Ambassador, the speaker also made a ruling on some point of order regarding Brian Mundubile, Council George Sanga, and Moyo, Speaker, the third deputy speaker, over their absence. Somehow she covered them that they are also free to continue
what they're doing,
whatever they're doing, and they're members of the house. Was that meant to justify the other 6 that they are on the house floor of the house? So even the Brian Mundubiles who haven't been in the house for maybe 4 or 5 days, they should also just be allowed. What is your reading into that?
From what I know, a member of parliament can seek abscess from parliament. You can ask for permission to be away from parliament, or you can attend parliament virtually, depending on what permission you have sought from the house.
Except if you are Tassila Longo.
So yes, so somehow
sadly,
what you are saying, PK, is true, because the argument that has been advanced by the speaker that I consulted people who had crossed the floor, to me was not convincing. So she had to come up with something else to deal with specifics like Brian Mundubile and George Sanga. But also the speaker also didn't talk about Chanda Katoto.
Katotobwe.
No, she did.
Oh, okay.
She said he wrote to the clerk
yes,
that he had resigned because
he
went to stand as presidential candidate on another party.
Okay.
She mentioned that.
I might have missed that. So all in all, the speaker had to do a balance where you're supporting an illegality because you know that this is the party that I also support, and these people have come to us to help us. That she needed to come up with something.
So it's more like about her credibility as a speaker.
Yes,
indeed.
So come up with something also to deal with the specifics of Brian Mundubile, because Mr. Mundubile has not been in the house for some time and others. So she needed to come up with a balance.
As you conclude, Ambassador, an international analyst that you are, I take you to our 7th story. The UN rebukes Zambia over RIGHTSCON cancellation. The United Nations rebuking Zambia, and my director can be showing that newspaper,
Indeed.
Clip over that screaming headline. What does that say about a young democracy, a fragile economy like ours, to be receiving rebukes from New York?
But Pastor, we are in the naughty corner of geopolitics. I actually did write about it in my column that appears every Friday in the Daily Nation. I did give an example. And Pastor, don't forget that this is not the first time that the United Nations is condemning us. The United Nations rapporteur has already put us in the bad state of countries. The United Nations has already condemned us for having shrunk the space of democracy, having reduced our access to free association and free speech, having done lots of things. The RIGHTSCON, let me give a little bit of background.
You don't have the luxury of background?
I don't have the...
No, because of time.
Because of time.
Speak.
Anyhow,
yeah.
It is very sad that, we are getting all this barrage of condemnation from not only the United Nations, but also from Amnesty International, and also from Human Rights Watch, and also from our very own local institutions, such as Chapter 1 Foundation, led by that brave woman, Linda Kasonde. Happy Mother's Day, Linda. You are doing a great job. Keep on keeping on. We are getting the same kind of vibe from the Law Association of Zambia. So, you say we have no luxury of time. It's really bad. I think there should be a deep introspection, because the more condemnation you get about your country lacking rights, you also raise alarm to the possible investors. People will always be thinking twice. Should I go to this country where they don't respect laws? Should I go to this country where they cancel an international conference 5 days before it is done? Do these people respect that there is people that put aside everything in order for people to come attend this? I end there.
Right. I'm going to give you 1 minute each as we wrap up. We have to go. Our evening has been really, really packed. But most, supporters of the ruling party always accuse the analysis that you only analyze negative things. But here is a positive story. Finally, free education is law. 1 minute, Chiwoyu. as we wrap up on this, that finally there is a law that says free education shall not just be a policy pronunciation, and whoever comes into power must uphold that.
Okay, well, there's no alternative to education. If there's a landmark decision that President Hichilema has made in the last 4 years of his presidency, is to expand free education. I wouldn't say that, I'm not going to say they introduced, because it was there under PF, but it had a limitation. But to expand it to secondary level, that was very good. So we look forward to them expanding it to university. But remember the challenge that free education faces right now, and I'm not saying I'm not mentioning the challenge as an attempt to demean the importance of free education. It's on the issue of the quality. So in as much as we've seen the energy in terms of coming up with the law, we also want to see extra energy in ensuring that we have enough number of teachers and we have enough number of desks, and we want the quality to improve to an extent where the president's children, the ministers, the permanent secretaries, the directors who have their children in government schools. And that time then we are going to say we have achieved the quality free education that we're looking for.
Your minute is up. Speech analyst, the president in opposition, there is a screenshot there. Director, please show us a screenshot of the president. In there, when you read, he promised that we are going to give free education up to university. The law that they have passed only limits free education up to grade 12. Where do you think the change of mind came from?
Well, I think the change of mind came from because of the expense that is involved to push free education up to university level. For instance, I'll give you an example. In order to sustain the feeding program, the government of Zambia spends about 500 million. That's a lot of money. So if you put it, if you say you want to push free education to university level, it is going to be a cost on the Zambian budget. Then I was looking at the national, there's a document that has been released by the Minister of Finance, for instance. When you look at the contributors to the economy, sadly, when I looked at that report, there's no agriculture as a major contributor to Zambia's economy to grow. So what it means is that, yes, free education is good, but it needs financial backing where we can sustain it as a nation. So if agriculture is not going to appear on the economic sectors that are contributing to economic growth, then we must be worried as a nation. Because if we don't do enough in terms of mopping, generating resources, at some point this free education may be scrapped off by a government, any government that comes into place. Because it doesn't say, it is just politicking when you say we have made it law, nobody should come and scrap it off. We had provision of tuitions to students. It was scrapped off by the PF. So even free education can be scrapped off by any government that comes into place. So what we need to do is let's have enablers, especially the agriculture sector. Let it become one of the contributing sectors to the economy. Then we can sustain free education.
Ambassador, 1 minute. The NRCS, National Quality Education or something like that, they've issued a statement urging the government that while it is that it's commendable to have free education, but the government is falling behind to honor its obligation in terms of sending timeously the school grants. So school grants, schools have to manage all these kids.
Indeed. But
the government is falling behind to make sure that they send those grants to support free education. Your thoughts?
My thoughts. Firstly, Mr. President, I always say that, there is nobody who loves you more than this panel. I personally love you as a cousin of mine. But sometimes, as Shishua says, is that you know the right thing to do, but sometimes you just do it at the wrong time. Free education is very commendable because, like yourself, you're a product of free education. But except we want it to be qualitative. We don't want 200 children in one classroom. We want at least 24, 25. And we want the teachers to be well paid. And we want those grants that the pastor has mentioned to be submitted on time. We don't want you to expand parliament. 150 seats to 226. What priorities are we talking about here? Can you imagine for those 150 that you are increasing, if you had taken that money to education? We're going to need a brand new parliament building. We're going to need 150 more seats. We're going to need 150 more VXs. When all this money, if you were serious about free education, would have gone towards free education. I rest my case. And again, happy Mother's Day, Pastor, and everybody.
I'd like to thank my able panel of analysts. Chiwoyu, our guest analyst, thank you so much for coming.
You're most welcome, and I look forward to another invitation with my brother from Umbala.
Rest assured.
And it's good to share a platform with Anton Mkweta specifically, because he's been an inspiration to me. He's been my mentor. I don't know if he can remember.
Oh, you are too kind.
Yeah, I mean, I learned of writing from him. There was a time he had an office in the showground. I'm not revealing.
No. Please, go ahead. Louder.
And I think even outside the country, is one of the most respected international correspondents. And of course, he veered into diplomacy, where he did a fantastic job. And then it's good to have him around, and also to have to share a platform with you. Remember that this is the first time you and I are
sitting together.
Serious?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah,
thank you.
Of course, to have my brother here, who I communicate quite often.
Thank you so much for coming. Speech analyst, as usual, thank you so much.
And our director, of course.
Thank you very much, PK, and thank you to our dear viewers. Last week, actually, I bumped into some viewers who said I should pass regards to the analysts. I think I met Paul, I met Amos, and Daniel Wampa. They said we're doing a good job. So I'm passing the regards to the panelists out there.
The award-winning international correspondent, who is also an accomplished diplomat, Ambassador Mkweta. Thank you for coming.
It's not easy trying to catch up with you, PK. You know, sometimes when I'm moving, like, you know PK, eh? You know him? He said, yes. No, I saw you with him. And you know, the girls were asking me for your number. Eh?
Oh my God. I am a married man.
I know, me
too. On behalf of my director, Gilbert Chisha, the Lord bless you, and thank you so much for watching the analysis. Until next time, bye-bye for now.